afternoon, and welcome to CESLC Insider. Every other Wednesday at noon, you can join us to find education on topics that matter to you. I'm your host, Angelique Jackson, Manager of Business Development and Marketing, and here at Charles E. Smith Life Communities, we personally tailor our care and services to those that we serve. We offer independent living, assisted living, memory support, post-acute care, long-term care, and outpatient primary care as well. So if you would love to explore our campus with a private tour, please call our Welcome Center, and you can reach Greg and Tony, as well as visit our website where you can make an appointment as well. Thank you to everyone who tuned in today. We want to hear from you, so please remember to put all of your questions in our chat today. And so just a few reminders before we begin. We are recording this program, so you can find this program and many more on our YouTube channel. The link will be in the chat provided to you. And also, if you could remember to keep your mics muted so that everyone will be able to hear our speakers today. So let's begin. So nearly 1 million people in the United States are living with Parkinson's disease. And while it may be challenging, there are many ways to maintain a healthy and active lifestyle. Joining us today from the Parkinson's Foundation MidAtlantic chapter are Don Lewis, Program Development Manager, and Larry Zarzecki, Aware and Care Ambassador. Don and Larry, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having us.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you. So, Don, Larry, can you please tell our audience about the Parkinson's Foundation's MidAtlantic chapter?
Sure. First of all, I want to thank you, Angelique, for extending this invitation to allow us to come in and speak on behalf of the Parkinson's Foundation. It's truly an honor, and we always welcome the opportunity to share information on what we do and to help educate the Parkinson's community on the resources that we have available to help make their journey through managing the disease a little bit easier. So the Parkinson's Foundation is a national organization, and we're located throughout the United States. I am responsible for managing the MidAtlantic chapter, which includes 5 states, so it's a large territory to cover. But because of volunteers like Larry, who help support the organization, we're able to raise the awareness there. And our focus is in 3 areas, and that's on care, in which we work with local hospitals, the Johns Hopkins University, as well as Georgetown, to make sure that there are care in place for our people who are managing Parkinson's disease, as well as education. So is there anything you'd like to add, Larry?
I think you are just so good at this. I'm going to be quiet for a while.
But just to kind of introduce Larry, Larry is an Aware and Care Ambassador. And what that means is that he is out in the community sharing information on one of our most important resource kits that we'll get into a little later. And Larry's going to share with you how he has been able to utilize his and how it's made a difference. Larry volunteers a lot of his time, and I want to make sure that Larry gives you an understanding of what he does and why he is reaching out to the community. And Larry was diagnosed with Parkinson's probably about 12 years ago.
Young onset. It was a very confusing time.
So, Larry, why did you decide to be an Aware and Care Ambassador? Can you share that with our audience?
It's an important role, and it keeps one's mind busy and helps keep patterns going that we take for granted.
Mm-hmm.
It's a great the Aware and Care tool itself is a great tool and has gone to the hospital with me on a few occasions. And I believe Dawn and I will be speaking about this little kit and what's inside of it. And I'll be sharing with you why it's so important to me. But in the meantime, I'll let Dawn take it back.
Well, I have another question for you guys. If you guys could please explain to our audience, what is Parkinson's disease, what are the causes, and how is it diagnosed?
Parkinson's disease is a chronic progressive neurological disorder that affects movement. And what happens is that there's the death of vital nerve cells in the brain called neurons. And what's causing the neurons to die is the fact that the dopamine levels are decreasing, which then affects, connecting the messages for movement. And so it's important that when someone is diagnosed with Parkinson's, that they start a healthy regimen as soon as possible. The other thing that I want to mention is that we always focus on the motor skills that are affected when someone has been diagnosed with Parkinson's, but there are non-motor skills that one has to consider as well, because it can affect them in many other ways. And so from sleep disorder to urinary issues to constipation, memory issues. So those are some of the things that we're going to touch on today. As far as the cause, we don't know. Research is currently going on. We partner with Michael J. Fox. His organization focuses on treatment, and then the Parkinson's Foundation, their focus is on understanding the cause of Parkinson's. And right now, one of the studies that we're involved in is a genetic study. Possible causes can be environmental, and then we're trying to learn how much of a role genetics does play.
So you did mention genetics and genetic testing. Is this a free service to folks living with Parkinson's disease, or is there a cost for this?
The genetic testing that we're doing currently, which is referred to as PD generation, is a free testing that's available to people who have been diagnosed with Parkinson's. We initiated it in 2019, and our goal is to be able to test at least 15,000 people in the community. Fortunately, we are at 7,500, which I am so excited about, and as well as the organization, because we are getting a response from people in the community. And it's a simple test, in-home test, that we send to individuals who are interested in participating in the study. So it's quick and easy. And then the benefit of doing something like that is after the test results come in, then a counselor will sit down with the individual to explain what the results are. And the goal is to be able to identify better treatment for someone who is diagnosed with Parkinson's, as well as if there is just a variant that proves to be genetic, then we can make sure that we reach their family sooner before a diagnosis can be determined.
Oh, that's amazing service or resource that the foundation provides to those living with Parkinson's. So, wow. So, Dawn, can you describe for our audience the progression and pace of the disease, as well as the most common symptoms and complications?
The progression is individual. What you say, Larry?
It's very individual.
So what occurs in one person may be different in someone else. Automatically, whenever someone hears Parkinson's, they think of the tremors.
Mm-hmm.
But for some people, tremors may not be the symptom that causes them to seek medical advice on what they may be experiencing. So when they do see someone, there's a battery of medical assessments that need to be done in order to determine whether or not they have Parkinson's symptoms. And the monitoring can take place over 12 to 18 months because they're going to have to follow that individual. Some of the non-motor skills, I think, that people most often don't think about, and through most recent research is, we bring up constipation. They've been found through research that individuals who are in their 40s may suffer with constipation, but then realize as they seek medical attention that is something that they need to take into consideration when being diagnosed with Parkinson's.
So did you want to add something, Larry? Because I have another little follow-up question.
Okay. Go ahead.
So I wanted to know if this is a normal part of aging.
Yes and no. As we all age, our brains shrink and can cause different issues. With Parkinson's is obviously a neurodegenerative disease, as Dawn said, and there is no known cure right now, but there is a lot of research going on in that area, and it doesn't just affect older people, it affects young people also. Now, when we think about that, the first thing we think about is tremoring, a little twitch in one hand or one finger, but it's much more than that. It actually affects the whole body. It affects mood, it affects sleep, the ability to retain information, short-term memory, body functions, your vascular system. So it's not uncommon for a Parkinson's patient to have their heart beat in crazy ways, and you wind up wearing a heart monitor for a few days. You may not be able to have a bowel movement, or let's just say 1 and 2. You may not 1 and 2 the way you used to. And in my situation, my brain doesn't tell my body that I have to use the bathroom. Now, one of the biggest questions that's always asked is, do you wear Depends? No, I don't wear Depends, because my brain doesn't tell my body I have to go tinkle. So what happens is I just don't. And my body absorbs it, and in any given day, from one day to the next, I can be as puffy as the Marshmallow Man or the Michelin-type padded coat you wear, and then I take one of my medicines, and eventually that fluid comes off of my body. Now, as far as bowel movements, your intestinal tract is supposed to, from what I understand, it's supposed to contract 1 time every 3 minutes, and it doesn't. So when it doesn't, it causes us not to go to the bathroom.
A little discomfort.
A little discomfort. And it gets very discomfort when you get to around week 2 to 3. And I'm sure a lot of people out there have experienced that. It's very uncomfortable, and there are ways of dealing with that.
And that's why I mentioned earlier the non-motor skills, because again, people focus on the tremors, but there's a lot going on with the body that one really has to pay attention to. Sleep disturbances, violent dreams, things like that, also is another symptom.
Now, Larry, is there anything that one can do to slow the decline, such as medications or a lifestyle change like diet and exercise?
There are a lot of myths that go around that you can slow the progression. However, Parkinson's is almost a tailor-made issue. And just as everyone's fingerprints are different, each of our bodies are different for as similar as they are. So no, there's medications and lifestyle changes you can make that will help you control it and keep it under control. But as far as a medication to make it all better, no, there really isn't. There's a few that will help with off periods. And off periods are times in between your doses of medication, whatever medication you may be taking.
So, oh, go ahead, I'm
And
so
that's why
sorry.
it's so important, when it comes to medication management, that people share with their doctor what they're experiencing. Because as Larry said, there's medication, the main medication, carbidopa, levodopa, that people take, but also there may be some need for a medication to help them during that off time, or to get a quick start before that medication kicks in.
Thank you. So you kind of mentioned your medical provider, and I wanted to really kind of ask, why is it important to have a comprehensive medical team, and what does that really mean? Like, who are the players in this comprehensive medical team?
The best team you can put together is a combined effort between your general practitioner,
Mm-hmm.
your neurologist or movement disorder specialist. There's a lot of states that people aren't as fortunate as far as movement disorder specialists. So the United States needs to work on that. A psychologist or psychiatrist that's experienced in neurodegenerative diseases. Now, I know everybody out there is going, there's no way I'm going to see any kind of counselor or any kind of neuropsychologist or psychiatrist. Very important and key, especially for non-motor symptoms. Dentist, the medication that we take, it affects our bones and our teeth. A podiatrist, this is one of my favorites. The podiatrist, everybody, regardless of, that I know of, and please feel free to correct me, I always enjoy learning things. Our insurance generally covers 2 visits to a podiatrist a year. And it's good to see your podiatrist because they will help you with gait issues, balance issues, whether it be through shoe inserts or different types of shoes you can wear. It's always good to wear a wider sole shoe that lays a larger tread or a larger patch than your foot.
Mm-hmm.
Make sense?
Yes, it does.
It helps us with balance.
Helps with balance, yeah.
And believe me, I can fall over air. I can be standing talking and do the Larry tip, and I just keep talking and work things out. So dentist, psychologist, counselor, psychiatrist, nutritionist. We all know we have to watch our protein intake with this disease because protein affects absorption of the carbidopa, levodopa. And just a real quick analogy is if everyone's familiar with the game Pac-Man, he looks like a big round piece of cheese with the middle cut out, and he runs around and there's all these dots and he's waka, 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 waka. And what happens is it's his job, if this is your protein, if this is your Parkinson's moment, if this is your dopamine and this is your protein, so this is a synthetic and it's going to break that brain-blood barrier. What's happening is that protein, if you eat too close to taking your medicine, he comes around, waka, 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 and he eats your medicine. Pretty simple analogy. And that will cause an off period. So we have to watch our protein intake close to meals.
Mm-hmm.
So what does that mean? Well, I can tell you for me, it meant, hey, chocolate chip cookies. Yeah. So here's Larry. He's on the wagon right now. Larry's on the wagon. He's off the chocolate chip cookies, and he's starting to move around a little bit more now. But yeah, all joking aside, it's good to have your team together. Doctor, social worker of some sort, podiatrist, nutritionist,
and the
dentist,
therapist,
the therapist,
occupational
yeah.
physical therapy and speech, which is so important because the speech and swallowing can be affected as well. The other thing that we haven't talked about is also social engagement.
Mm-hmm.
So making sure that everyone is connected, family, to help, sometimes motivate you to exercise. It's difficult, I know for me, to get up and exercise. So having that support system in place can make a difference in helping managing those symptoms. Any exercise, Larry and I were coming up the road today, and we started talking about ballroom dancing.
Oh.
So he and I have a date to go and do some tango at a ballroom. But make it fun and exciting for you. And don't feel you have to accomplish a whole lot at one time. Do it in increments that are comfortable for you.
So it's nice that you mentioned adding your family as part of your comprehensive team to support you, because, family is very helpful in those types of moments. Like Dawn said, with motivating you to, take a walk or mind your proteins or.
The key is socialize,
Yeah.
socialize, socialize.
Mm-hmm.
Because even just as people with Parkinson's disease experience days where it takes every ounce of energy we have just to function and talk, even as we age, that happens.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So socialization is very important, and as you and Dawn were speaking about, exercise, well, what's the best exercise? I know that's a question you guys are asking.
Yeah, no, you don't.
Don't say it's not.
Don't.
But,
no, kidding.
we'll get into that, but just move, and the best exercise is the exercise you enjoy.
Yes, wonderful. So you guys did mention a little bit of, we alluded to medications. So are there any other treatments besides the carbidopa, levodopa that you had mentioned earlier, as far as helping to manage the symptoms? I guess we did talk about exercise. We talked about medications. Is there anything else that we're missing, or anything else that you would like to add?
The only other thing that I'd like to add is with regard to anxiety. There are times when certain medications are prescribed, but for someone who is taking a medication for anxiety, they have to be careful so that it doesn't interact with the carbidopa, levodopa that they're taking. But again, I have a book here that's on medication, and this provides lots of information on all the different types of medications that are generally prescribed for people who have been diagnosed with Parkinson's, as well as medications that, as I mentioned earlier, you should not take because of the interaction it may have. So I encourage people to take advantage of this.
If I may, these educational books that is offered by the foundation, one of them, this medication book, and there's quite a few others, they're very easy to read, they're very direct and to the point, and they're basic. And they're worth pursuing. And there's also a library through the foundation you can go to find a lot of your answers. But the best way to find your answers is call Dawn. I'm going to leave you her cell phone.
Which will be your number.
So I know we talked about it before, the exercise with Larry. Can you tell our audience what type of exercises are recommended to help manage the disease?
Mental exercises. Mental exercises is great, because if our brain doesn't work, the rest of our body doesn't work, right?
That's correct.
And when that dopamine starts with slowing down, whether we don't produce enough or whether it dies before it gets to our superhighway, and by superhighway, I mean we have our brain. We have this little spot in the middle of our brain called the substantia nigra, and that's one of its responsibilities is to produce dopamine. So it either doesn't produce enough, or it produces,
Mhm.
and it just doesn't live long enough to get to that major highway in your area or in your area. Where I'm at right now, I believe the Capitol Beltway would be the major highway.
Mhm.
So if we think about our brain as being the hub, being the highway, we have all of these neurons firing and dopamine being born and dopamine being thrown out, because our brain does, believe it or not, produce garbage that empties into our lymph system, and I won't get into all that or I'll get in trouble because we'll go way over an hour. But what happens is we have the highway local to you, and picture rush hour, and you're in the right lane, and you know your exit's coming up to get off of the main highway onto a non-major highway.
Mhm.
So our dopamine is the car, and our brain is the highway. Well, somebody on their cell phone drops their cell phone, reaches down, bam, hits the car in front of them. Now traffic is backing up. So what happens is the dopamine can't make it to where it needs to be. It can't take exit 33 or exit 34 because it broke down, or it had an accident and it ran into another one. So what happens? Traffic starts backing up. Your dopamine starts backing up, and it creates alpha-synuclein and a whole bunch of other bad things for your body. And it just wreaks havoc on the entire system.
And causes the symptoms to kind of magnify because of the lack of dopamine.
Really wreaks havoc. And so, yeah, and it starts to affect your movement, your balance, your speech, your thought process, your gait, how we walk, understanding, reading. I can't tell you how many times I've started to speak and just draw a blank. It's kind of like, what are you doing staring at that orange juice container? Well, it says concentrate. So that's what I'm doing. So my corny joke for the day.
I love it.
So it's a very interesting disease. It's a very, very personal disease for many people, and it's not just for younger people. I mean, it's not just for older people. Younger people suffer from it. And for some reason, it carries a stigma of embarrassment, and there's no reason to be embarrassed. Use it as an educational tool. I've been asked to leave a restaurant before because it made a lady, my tremors made a lady and her child uncomfortable. So that was interesting. So use your symptoms as a tool, and don't be afraid. I was actually relieved because I knew something was wrong and couldn't articulate it.
Yeah.
So do you have any exercises or helpful things to share with our audience that keep your range of motion and keep your
Sure.
balance?
Absolutely.
And since we're seated, we're going to keep the exercises where you can do them in place. We won't go big today.
We won't go big and loud.
We go loud.
We
We
can
go loud.
We can go loud. We will go loud. We will go loud.
Okay.
And so one of the best exercises for dexterity is something everybody probably has around their house, is a rubber band. Put it around your fingers and just open. And when you close, don't close fast. Close slowly. Because what are we doing by closing slowly? Resistance.
Resistance, right?
So we're keeping our hands and fingers loose and working properly. Another exercise I like to do is placing our hands together and bring them straight down in front of you. And while you're bringing them straight down in front of you, lift your elbows as you bring it down. Now, you'll find that the bottom part of your hands will want to come apart the further you go down and the higher you lift your elbows. Well, what you want to do is you want to come down just far enough where you can feel your hands wanting to come apart. Hold them to about the count of 3 and relax.
That's pretty hard.
And do that a few times, and that will help keep your wrists and your carpal, yeah, it sounds funny, but it will help keep the carpal tunnel, the tunnel for the carpal, open and flexible. Finger exercises, everybody who's been to the doctors, he'll have you do finger exercises and measure your taps. So they're always good to do. A lot of people have found it very beneficial who tend to swell, whether it be through arthritis or holding fluids. Put your hands together, and people who use the computer keyboard a lot. Hands together, interlock. See how we're doing here?
Yeah.
Fingers in between each other, okay? And we're just going to keep back and forth. And you'll notice the more you do that, the more you're pushing into this skin area, okay? That will help stretch the skin and move that fluid around. And then it's always good to hold your elbows up, rock forward, hesitate, pause, rock back as far as you can. And you should feel a nice pull through
I do.
your wrists or not. And that's great for everyone, even people who enjoy using the keyboards a lot.
Or in general, just to get that stretch, because it's also relaxing and distracting because you're so focused on the movement.
Another one that's good to move fluid and get those pockets of nitrogen, I believe it is, out of your joints, back of your hand to the back of your hand.
That's the tough one.
Just the opposite.
Oh, yeah.
See how we're, okay? Push down as far as you can. Start to flatten your hand out. So as you're doing that, bring your hand flat. See how you're coming in there real nice?
Yes.
Now, close into a fist.
Goes into a fist.
And you should look like this. And you just cracked your knuckles, so all that fluid and whatnot has moved. But you'll notice by doing this, you'll move a lot of those fluids around in those joints, and it will loosen the joints up. The last one I have for everybody, okay? This one I've never been able to do properly. So, a ball, anything that you can move between your fingers.
Okay.
So these are just little puffy balls, and you'll find out why we have these in a little while. But just roll that between each finger and let it drop down. We want to do that back and forth.
So you roll it between each finger, it has to...
Roll it, it has to stop.
Okay.
Don't tilt your hand now. You're cheating, you have to start over. Yeah. So we're going to do that, and then we're going to turn around and we're going to do it on the back of our hand, and that's where I get in trouble. I've never been able to do that.
I can't either.
Either can I.
Well, we're using something very light, but if you use a little ball.
What is a stress ball?
Yeah, a stress ball would be great. A little stress ball, that has the sand in it or whatnot. That works great.
And we wanted to do this exercise again, just to reiterate that. When you think of exercise, I know some of you are probably familiar with rock steady boxing, which is great to do, but can be difficult for people. So keep it simple, and like Larry said, make it fun for you, that it fits what you can do it. And that lets you know that I'm moving, and you can feel a sense of accomplishment.
And the last one that's very good, that everybody should do, that's elbows to a 90 degree.
Okay.
Thumbs up, lean forward a little bit. Now, bring them back. Bring those arms back as far as you can. Just bring your arms back. And picture a walnut in between your shoulder blades. exhale, and crack that nut between your shoulders.
Oh.
And relax. That will actually help build the muscles around your spine. And because we hunch and because we tend to hunch and our centers of gravity gets off and we get going faster than our feet, it's good to do that because it's like putting on the emergency brake in your car when your brake fails.
Right.
So if anybody finds themselves walking too fast or shuffling too fast, it's probably your posture. In my case, it's probably this 10-pound bowling ball on top of my shoulders, and it gets out over top, and I have to remind myself, okay, put the emergency brake on and just stand up straight, and you can do that by remembering to crack that walnut, and your body will automatically slow down. It's just incredible how that works.
If I could, one last thing, if you could cover this wonderful.
You guys can't see him, but.
Raise your hand. Raise your hand because I know everybody has done this that has any kind of neurodegenerative issue. That's just interesting. Sorry about that. A little bit of gas. Anyway, eating soup from a plastic spoon or just a regular spoon in general, I just can't do. So I have weighted utensils, and I always carry an extra set of weighted utensils with me. And for me, the basic weighted utensil works the best. There are all different sizes. There are all different types. Some of them have little pendulums in them, and they do this and they do that. But for me personally, the basic set of weighted utensils works great, and it helps with the tremor, and I can actually cut food. And these weigh about as much as a roll of quarters, so they are heavier. And you can talk to your physical therapist and have them order you a set. They're not really expensive, or you can go to Amazon or one of your online stores. Or talk to Dawn. Like I said, 555-0123. That's 555-0123.
Now, I know we can't do the physical exercises, but you guys did mention rock steady boxing, and you mentioned a date for the tango. Can you tell me, why are those types of exercises helpful?
They're helpful for movement, balance, multitasking. Multitasking is a big thing.
Mm-hmm.
Depending on where you're at on the Parkinson scale, you can go through a grocery line and make a whole big to-do out of a pack of gum. It's called not being able to make a decision.
Okay.
So, ladies, gentlemen, caregivers, family, be kind to us. Don't ask us where we want to go to dinner. We can find something anywhere we go, especially if you're hungry.
But yeah, because of dancing, like he said, it's not only motor, but it's non-motor. You know, and not only does it decreases anxiety levels. So that's what's so important, because you're so focused on learning the steps and getting the coordination down, and it's entertaining and fun. If you step on somebody's foot, it's not a problem. But yeah, there's rock steady boxing, there is ballroom dancing, like we said, there's yoga, there's chair yoga you could do, Tai Chi, which is excellent, or just a few that people can really think about being involved in.
So these exercises really get you into your body.
They do.
Yes.
They do. And believe it or not, your heart, you can actually get your heart rate up to 80 or 90 just by sitting in your chair.
Mm-hmm.
And when we leave, I'll leave some chair exercises
Oh, that
with
we
you.
can share.
Yeah.
And you'll be able to share these chair exercises. You'll see that, yes, with these chair exercises, you'll be able to get that heart rate up. And when we get the heart rate up, we start producing more red blood cells, or new red blood cells, which makes our blood happy because it oxygenates it. So nothing but good things happen there.
Great, thank you guys for sharing that. Now, I know we kind of touched on it, and we know that Parkinson's is a neurodegenerative disease. What about the development of dementia related to Parkinson's disease? How does the foundation support those folks?
Well, we have a robust education program that focuses on different symptoms, and dementia is one of them. Now, dementia in a person with Parkinson's is going to be a little bit different from someone who is suffering from normal aging form of dementia, vascular dementia, or Alzheimer's.
Mm-hmm.
So there can be mild cognitive impairment, but people still have the ability to process the thought and follow through with it. Whereas, as Larry was saying, he may have some difficulty finding the word, but he knows what he wants to say.
Right.
It's just getting that word in and being able to communicate it.
I have a really slow elevator operator, but he gets there.
So
He gets there.
the executive, the executive thinking is still there.
It is. It is. We get slower and stiffer. We don't become less intelligent. It just takes a little longer to get that word out. And it just takes us a little longer. Parkinson's is nothing to be afraid of. And it shouldn't carry a stigma because it is what it is.
Thank you. So, I guess, go ahead.
One of the brain exercises that you can do as well at any time, but we call it the SMILE exercise. And what it is, we can quickly go through it.
This was invented by Dawn, by the way.
I'm going to patent it.
And it's a lot of fun.
But,
So,
yeah, it's taking the word smile, because you do smile, but really making it a quick brain activity. So what we usually do is to say to people, okay, you have 30 seconds to come up with a word for each letter in the word smile.
Oh.
So if I were to say S, what would your word be?
I would say,
Okay.
She picked me first.
Say yours.
She picked me first.
I would say smile.
Okay. And that always, M, what would your word be?
Might.
Might, okay. And
Eyeball.
eyeball, okay. If
No,
you want
I'm
to do it in
joking.
the chat.
Interesting.
And there's
Interesting.
the chat if you want to.
Please share your
Yeah.
words with the chat. L,
Love.
love.
Larry.
Love Larry, all right. And E.
Come on, folks, join in. Let's see some. Listen,
I
there we
like
go.
that.
Hey,
There you go.
there we go.
And money.
Excited. Yeah,
Oh,
there you go.
evolutionary.
That's a good
Oh,
one.
these are great.
Oh,
That's
that
a
is
good one.
good. That one I've never seen.
I think you're right. I
Yeah.
think that's the first time for that.
I'm gonna remember that one so I can impress people.
Yeah. I'm gonna write that down.
Yeah. So, but that, again, we want to keep it light, we want to keep it simple so that you can feel comfortable doing something and realize it doesn't have to take silly, money, interesting, love, energy.
Energy is a good one.
Yeah, it is. So that's what it's all about. And smile makes you smile. But yeah, you see the positive words that are being generated.
And Dawn and I usually, when we're working with groups, we help facilities build social groups. We don't like to, call them support groups. They're
Mhm.
social groups.
Social group.
They're social groups.
Mhm.
So, and everybody's invited.
Yeah.
And, so as part of our social group building, when we do the smile, everything is about doing things in big ways
Mhm.
and, surprising the person next to you. And the one rule that's always non-negotiable
Mhm.
is it has to be loud. If your answer or word is not disturbing the people next door, you have to start over. Not just you, but the entire group.
Oh,
Yeah.
really?
Yeah.
And that's because everything is big and loud.
Yeah,
Big and loud.
Yes.
and that is great for you SLPs that are out there. You're saying, yes, we aren't forgotten.
Oh, yes, no, they're not forgotten. So let's see if we have any good questions here. So someone is asking, I know we mentioned the genetic testing, before, so how can individuals access the testing?
I can get information to you, and all you would have to do is contact the 800 number, and the test can be sent to your home.
And that's 555-1234.
I'll make sure to be able to share with everyone.
We would love to have you participate in the study. And I know that the people who I've been in contact with who've completed it have been really pleased with the conversations that they have afterwards regarding the results.
Thank you for that question. Our next question is, should you wait to eat after carbidopa-levodopa, or should it be taken with food? That's a good question, thank you.
The rule of thumb for your carbidopa-levodopa differs between doctors, but the best results have been found to be right around 1 hour before a meal or 1 hour after your meal. That way digestion has already started.
Thank you.
Exercise there.
Yeah, everybody, thank you. I
Thank
love
you.
the exercises. And now we have a question. How often do you see people, and we kind of spoke about this, diagnosed with both Parkinson's and Alzheimer's disease?
That is a great question. Can I run with that one?
Sure.
Okay. That is such a great question. Thank you for that question. It happens regularly, and a lot of people don't realize that there is such thing as a Parkinson's dementia. Now, Parkinson's dementia, for all of you who have never heard of it, Parkinson's dementia is in every way identical to Lewy body dementia. It just happens in a different order depending on each individual, as opposed to Lewy body dementia having one set way. Now, Alzheimer's is an interesting form of dementia, and that has to do with the shrinkage of the brain. And as we all know, we need to, something just popped into my mind I'd like to share with you also. We all need to be careful as we age to eat foods rich in antioxidants. And where I'm going with that is, if you're lucky enough to have a real good source of a vitamin shop, our bodies produce the strongest antioxidant known to mankind. It's called glutathione. It's an antioxidant. And as we age, just like testosterone and estrogen, it decreases in our body, and our body produces less of it. So what happens when men start producing less testosterone? Well, we get heavier, we get man boobs. What happens to ladies when they start getting older and they're producing less estrogen? Well, us guys tend to lose our hair And ladies tend to start getting a hair here on their chin that drives them crazy, or somewhere like, or, you know, something like that. So the glutathione is good for your entire body, skin, hair, nails. So just a little food for thought there.
Thank you, thank you. So we have another question. What support do you have for caregivers, folks supporting those living with Parkinson's?
Take care of yourself. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I did it again.
That's the best advice.
I did it again.
But it's so true, because as a caregiver, we refer to, instead of using caregivers, we say care partners at the Parkinson's Foundation.
Oh.
Because people who have been diagnosed with Parkinson's still can do things for themselves. There's not assistance that they need when it comes to ADLs, for the most part, unless, you know, the disease has further progressed. But we can't say it any louder that, yes, you first need to care for yourself, because care partners are the ones whose health suffers the most. So to help people manage that, we offer an education program for care partners, so that it focuses on what you need to do in order to take care of yourself, and then how you can help your family member. I have this great book, Caring and Coping, that's been designed just for people who are care partners for someone living with Parkinson's. So just educate yourself, learn as much as you can about the disease, and then also give yourself a break, because you're not going to be able to manage it all. And each day is going to be different.
It's the wild caregivers. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I cut you off.
No, you go ahead. He's my partner.
Caregivers ride the wildest roller coaster on earth when dealing with us, because it's different for us every day. And please be patient with us. You know we're not going to be patient with you, but it's not us. It's the disease that is being difficult.
Yeah, so take time for yourself.
Thank you. And so that's kind of, I want to ask too, are there any other resources and services that the foundation provides to support care partners?
Yes, I will be sharing information with Angelique on different education programs that we offer. We have a program we call PD Health at Home, that's live every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Monday focuses on mental health, dealing with a variety of topics. And then Wednesday is focused on topics related to symptoms, where the doctor speaks and people have an opportunity to ask questions. And then Friday is Friday Fitness. So it's exercise for all, and it's something that you really don't have to do anything with. Just log in and then follow along with our physical therapist, as well as all of these webinars are recorded, so you can take advantage of them at any time. Pull up a topic that's most near and dear to you. Again, take advantage of our publication series. There's lots of information in there for you. And when I do share that information with Angelique, you can just visit our website and then just peruse through it to figure out what works for you.
A lot of great free tools and education.
Do you want to talk about your purse, your MERS? You're wearing care kit?
I was reading a very good question.
Okay.
And we'll be answering that here very shortly, I hope.
Yes.
Yes, we will.
But I just wanted to talk to you about something very quickly that's near and dear to my heart, and I've actually had 2 opportunities to use it. And I'm going to pass it to Dawn, because I'm going to show you how authentic I am with it. This is my Aware and Care kit, and this is Harry. Harry is Larry's MERS.
He has a name.
This is Harry. And Harry has all kind of goodies inside, which I'm hoping that Dawn will share with us also. But just to give you an example, this is made out of a real heavy, would you say, canvas-type material. And it has so much information in it. It has information that will touch on hospital plans for your hospital stay, medications. There's a big, in large bold lettering, no Haldol for anesthesia. No Haldol, very important to remember.
Bracelet?
It comes with a bracelet. I've worn my bracelet out, so now I'm wearing a different kind of bracelet, and I found the use for that because I'm always losing my keys, so so how about that? Yeah. So, but I have my advance directive in, Harry. So my advance directive's in here. A lot of other personal information is in here. And one of the best things about Harry is he holds a lot of the medication that I take. Now, my medication, because of my particular circumstances, is pretty expensive. And if we could digress about different treatments, and I promise this will just take 20 seconds. The most popular treatment when things are out of control, if you're a candidate, is the deep brain stimulation, the DBS. And what you don't hear too much about is the Duopa pump, where an incision's made in your belly. And the medication, it almost looks like an insulin pump.
Okay.
And it directly administers the medication as you need it. So if we can get Dawn to open up Danielle here.
Danielle. All right.
So we have a little bit of everything.
For the hospital.
We have your hospital magnet with a toll-free number.
And it says, I need my Parkinson's medication on
time, every time.
Which
Now,
is always a challenge.
that is never going to happen, and that's why the majority of us spend an average of 4 days longer in the hospital.
Okay, so this is very helpful.
So this is very helpful.
Should you, an event happen,
Absolutely.
to be hospitalized.
And then you prepare your medication list. So that it's right in front of the medical team.
There's also a card that you can fill out, and if you're ever if you're ever driving down the street or riding your bicycle or motorbike, and you start doing this because you're just kind of on an off period, and you look behind you and there's Officer Friendly behind you, and he pulls you over because he thinks that you've been to cocktail hour a little too long. You can show him that card, and don't be afraid to show him the card. You'd be surprised how many agencies actually recognize and know what the card is.
Thank you. Such a wonderful MRS.
The last thing, may I just say one more thing about the MRS?
Sure.
The MRS is free, and each one of these kits costs right around between $25 and $30 to put together, and it's a great deal. It's heavy. They last. Well, I'm on my second one in 10 years. So yeah, they're $25 to $30 to put together, and they are free. And Dawn can give you more information on how to get a kit.
Yes, another free resource. Pretty amazing. And I wanted to get to, I know we're on time, and I apologize, so thank you for your patience. There's a great question that we really wanted to get, that we wanted to ask. So they're asking for suggestions for spouses, because folks living with Parkinson's act out dreams. In addition, are there any other suggestions in addition to moving to separate beds? She says that she woke up being...
That's a tough one.
May I?
Absolutely.
The most important, this is where your mental health team comes in.
Absolutely.
They
Good
can
point.
prescribe medications that will alleviate the majority of that issue. There's nothing worse than having a night terror and acting it out. So for as scary as it is, for your caregiver or your husband, wife, loved one, it's just as scary for us. And I've experienced them. They're terror. They're horrible. They terrorize you and you act out.
Yeah.
And then there are the funny ones.
But definitely seek medical assistance there, and then, because it could be associated with sleep apnea as well. And getting diagnosed and wearing a mask can make a huge difference. I know my husband has experienced that, so I understand what you're going through. I've been punched and kicked and and scratched a few times. And so that's why I suggest checking to make sure that sleep apnea isn't an issue there.
And thank you for the question. It was a great question.
That was a great question.
And then because I know it's time and I want to be mindful, but I just wanted to ask, do you have any upcoming community events, and how can one support the foundation and its mission?
Sure. Before I talk about that, make sure you take a look at the information that I send to Angelique so that you can take advantage of these wonderful resources. We do have some upcoming events occurring. A MidAtlantic education webinar is going to be held in person, online. We're going to have that in Virginia. Dr. Faulkner is going to be, Dr. Yagi is going to be speaking on cognition and memory, so if that's a topic you're interested in. Also, we have our Moving Day events coming up. In order to be able to provide these resources at no cost to people in the Parkinson's community, we raise funds, and it's a walk that will take place in D.C. at the Wharf, District Wharf, so we're looking forward to that, and then another one in Baltimore at UMBC.
Thank you. And thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you, Dawn, Larry, for all the wonderful information, the exercises. Audience, thank you for joining us as well. But I just wanted to mention, too, that we have some upcoming events here as well. You can find the link to our event page in the chat. So April 5th, we do have, coming from our Elder Safe Center, Mobile Integrated Health, a community-centered fire EMS approach. So please tune into that. And then our next CESLC Insider will be April the 6th, and we're going to be discussing thriving while living with diabetes. Again, thank you, everyone who tuned in. Have an amazing day.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.